Hello Star Citizens, and welcome to another Star Citizen video. And this one, we're gonna actually go through this Jumptown sale, which I'm not sure if they do a Jumptown sale every time, but as far as I remember, this is the first time I've seen a Jumptown sale. But I have some more news. Something I was actually supposed to announce in my video from the other day, but I forgot because I'm human. And yeah, I guess people who are human shouldn't really say they're human, because that's exactly what a robot would say, huh? But anyway, the only thing that I forgot to mention is that we are soon going to be doing a push for 5,000. Right, and what I mean by 5,000, we're trying to get to 5,000 subscribers. I don't normally do pushes for numbers, but I thought if I'm gonna do one, it should probably be around this time. So the goal is to reach 5,000 subscribers by the end of July. So this is the way I'll do it, and I'm not gonna mention it again. You know, like 50 times. I'll probably like just remind people every once in a while throughout the month. But this is what I'll do. If I reach 5,000 subscribers by the end of July, I will give away a ship that is $400 in value. If I reach it by the end of August, I will give away a ship that is $300 in value. And if I reach it by the end of September, then I will give away a ship that is $200 in value. If I don't reach it by September, then it's just our normal ship giveaway. All right. So that is the I guess the push for you to tell your friends, share the channel, you know, share it on with your orgs, share it with people who, you know, might be interested in the game, you know, post it, whatever, do whatever you need to, but bring on the subscribers, and thou shalt be rewarded. Do it post haste, and thou reward shalt overflow. All right, that's it. That's all I got. All right, let's get to this video. I just wanted to go through these ships so everybody could kind of get an idea. So this ends, I'm assuming that the last day it runs for 23 hours. So the last day will be the 10th, I'm guessing, to buy these ships. So I'm just gonna go real quick, go through the ships, and then I'll do like the war bonds and everything, and just see what the values are for each one. So we're starting with the A2. The A2 to me is the best of the Hercules series, but not for everyone. So what do I mean by that? I think for most people, the M2 is probably the best, but I think the M2 kind of just got, you know, a little outclassed by the Ironclad Assault. So I would say now it's either go for the C2 or go for the A2. The C2 doesn't have, what are those things called? Tractor beams. It doesn't have tractor beams. And that's my biggest issue with the C2. If it had tractor beams, it would be great. However, it does have enough space for you to fit something that can have tractor beams. So I'm just hoping that they come out with a vehicle that has a big tractor beam, so that you could take a vehicle with tractor beams, and then, like, yeah, you won't be able to use all your cargo space, but still you could have that vehicle and then, you know, move all your ship stuff, like your ship cargo, in and out of it, especially with, you know, the way cargo is changing. But why the A2 then? Well, the A2 is overpriced, so that's why I say for most people it's probably not going to be the best of the Hercules series, because are you willing to spend $750 on a ship? If you're not willing to spend $750 on the ship, you could buy it in game. It's like, what is it, like 50 million, like 55, 59 million in game now or something? It's some crazy amount of money in game now. So you're going to have to work. I think most people, if you got another decent ship that's a pretty good money-making ship, you can get 50 million in about, now in 3.223, moving into 3.24, I think you could get 50 million in probably what, a week and a half, if you're playing consistently. But if you're outside of that, we're talking about people who are going to buy the ship, right? Because the ship sale doesn't matter if you're just going to buy it in game, right? It can carry cargo. It can act as a drop ship. It has tons of turrets. They are all mostly bottom mounted, but it's the same as in any vehicle. You got to get your guns on target to shoot them anyway. So a lot of people would tell me like, oh, you know, the Hercules isn't great for using the turrets because they're all bottom mounted or whatever. But I'm like, it doesn't matter what ship you have. Either way, or it doesn't matter where your turrets are mounted. You have to have a pilot that puts them on target anyway. Now, that just means, yes, your belly's gonna get shot up a little bit more, but it is what it is. No ship of this size has that many turrets. Every ship that has that many turrets is either way larger or the turrets are way smaller. So it's a very unique vehicle in that sense. Not to mention it can drop size 10 bombs. The Moabs destroy everything. And I don't even think those are even at the amount of damage that they will be. Like, I think those things in the future are going to do even more damage than they do now. So I really think that people who, you know, look down on the A2, there's reasons to. I said the price. It loses a crap ton of cargo from the C2. But what you gain, the armory room and all of that stuff, like this is one of the few ships where I think if you hop into this with a bunch of your friends, you're going to find fun no matter what. Either you'll drop bombs on something you shouldn't, you'll be able to take all your vehicles and a few small ships with you. Imagine putting an Ursa medevac in this thing, and then like three cyclones or 2 cyclones and then a regular Ursa, whatever. Like, you can take a lot of stuff with you. And, you know, I would leave some of those vehicles behind if I found enough cargo and to put on this thing, and then like claim the vehicles, and then you make more money with the cargo than with the vehicle. Like, there's so many things you could do with it. Full crew quarters for all the people that are on the ship. Unlike the M2 and C2, where like the amount of crew you can actually keep on there is a little limited. Like, I love this thing. I love it. It's one of my favorite ships. So I'll leave it there because I can talk about the A2 all day. Definitely all day. All right, the Ares Inferno. So in 3.23, this has been it's kind of fallen from grace a little bit. Now, what do I mean by that? It's been moved into its role that it was always supposed to have. So it has that size 7 gun, and size 7 guns do massive damage, but the idea of a size 7 gun being on a fighter like this was always crazy because it's like, well, this thing is just going to kill everything, right? Well, now this thing is a little slower moving. It's a little less maneuverable. And you know, I haven't flown it, so I'm just going based off what people have been saying in the comments on Spectrum and what people have been telling me in my comments. But from what I've heard, it's been a little nerfed. Not nerfed to the point where you can't use it, but nerfed to where it's mostly only effective versus ships that are larger than it. So you're gonna want to use this to shoot the larger medium ships and up, like medium ships, large ships. That's what this is aimed at. You can shoot it at capital ships if you want, but unless you're aiming at a reclaimer, all the other capital ships are going to blow this thing to Kingdom Come. The Hammerhead should be able to handle this fairly well. If you know, obviously it needs competent gunners, but if you're a good pilot, it doesn't matter what ship you're in because you're going to know its weaknesses and you'll know its strengths and you'll play to those strengths. And so any good pilot can do anything in a ship, but I'm just saying in general, would I buy an Inferno right now? No. They're cheap enough in game. to where I would get one in game right now. But unless they, you know, come back on the balancing a little bit and put this thing back where it used to be. As of 3.22, I would have bought one. But as of 3.23, no, it's a no for me. It's a single seat fighter, no interior. But I do love that this thing, you can put all power to shields and weapons, I'm sorry, shields and engines, because you don't need any power to the weapon. So I do like that. So if I'm gonna pick between that one and this one, then I'm picking the Inferno. The reason to pick the Ion, and I think the Ion before this patch might have been the worst one, but now I think they're on even ground, because now it's a long haul to kill something with these, right? These are always supposed to work together, right? The Ion is weakening those shields, and the Inferno is damaging it as those shields come down. But I think the Ion is now the better equipped one, because yes, you're gonna light up like a Christmas tree, but you don't have to worry about running out of ammo. So if you're willing to do the long fight and you're a better pilot, the Ion is the better choice. But most people are not focusing on their piloting skills, and that's why most people choose the Inferno. Not the only reason, but I think if you like longer engagements, then you go for the Ion, because once you get the shields down, this thing is still it's still a size 7 weapon. It's just lasers, right? So the fact that these weapons are bespoke, I wish they had at least 2 other options, right? Like, you know, I would love to be able to swap this out with 2 other types of laser. Like, I wouldn't say you should let me swap this out with like the gun that's on the Inferno, but I would like this to be able to be swapped out with 2 other versions of ballistics. You know, I don't know if it's cannons or Gatlings or whatever, but you should be able to swap it out with other versions of itself, and I think that would add to what it can do. But right now, I wouldn't really purchase either one of them with real money, just because of the most recent patch. However, I will say this: these ships are very cool looking. I love the way the Inferno looks. It's probably one of the better looking fighters in the game. I just love the way it looks. And if you want a ship, go buy it. Like I say that in all of my ship reviews. If you want a ship, go buy it. Don't let me tell you what to buy. I'm just here to give you advice, and you can take it or leave it. All right, the Arrow, it's a buy. Anybody who buys an Arrow, you're not going to be disappointed. I have yet to see them, like, they've nerfed it. They've made it not the best, but even still, it's if you are even remotely decent at flying, you will have fun in an Arrow. So the Arrow is always a buy. The price, it's still underpriced. You could sell this thing for $100 and it would still be awesome. Arrow is always a buy, always a buy. So if you're on the fence about an Arrow, take my advice, get the Arrow. That's all I have to say. I don't have to spend too much time on it, because it's a win. C1 Spirit. So I haven't flown this one in the current patch, but my last I guess thought process of it is it's a little tanky, little cargo hauler. So I think this is a great advanced starter. I feel like if you're going to buy a ship but you're not willing to put a whole lot of money into the game, I would say start off with something like this and you wouldn't be disappointed, because the C1 is a solid ship. For a good 6 months, I think it was a lot of people's favorite ship. Like, I love the C1, everybody, but then it got nerfed a little bit and I think it kind of fell out of favor. But the C1 is a solid advanced starter. I think anybody who gets one will have fun in the game. It has an interior, it has a solid little cargo grid, it's fast in a straight line. It could use a little bit more maneuverability, but at the same time, you know, you don't want it to be OP. So yeah, I think it's a solid ship. You know, anybody who gets one, I think they'll love it. The C2, I kind of talked about the C2 already. What's going on here? Why are we not loading up? We got it. We need our visuals. Come on now. I need people to know what ship we're talking about. If we have newer people watching this, they need to know what the C2 looks like. There we go. Come on. Let's get it together, RSI. But the C2. So I kind of talked about this one already. The C2 is meant to move ground vehicles. It tells you right here, moves large ground vehicles and heavy cargo. It doesn't have the tractor beams, and that's the thing, you know. So I would say it's more geared towards moving the vehicles than the cargo. But again, there's options for, moving cargo with these things. Like I said, right now you can use the tractor beams with your hands, but that's changing as soon as 3.4 drops, which I do believe will be within the next 2 weeks. I think, maybe, the whole Pirate Week, I don't know exactly when it's going to be, but I think it'll be somewhere around Pirate Week that we'll get 3.24. So yeah. What do I think? Do I think people should buy it? It's weird to me. I would ask, what are your goals, right? Because if you want to move vehicles and moving vehicles is going to be a major part of what you do, the C2 is a no-brainer, right? But if you're thinking cargo, then I have questions, right? I would right now, I think the base Ironclad is better suited. It's $50 more, but you get way more cargo. You get nearly double the amount of cargo. You can still move vehicles. You just can't move the tank, as far as I know. And I think everything else being equal, the Ironclad has more guns, more crew, more seats, but also the Ironclad is larger, so it's going to fly slower. So do you need to be faster? Do you prefer that the pilot experience be better? Because the pilot experience, I think, is going to be better in the C2. So if you need that better pilot experience, if you want the size 5 weapons, I would go with the C2. It's the better solo ship to me. The C2 is the better solo ship, but the Ironclad, you definitely are going to want to bring some people. But I think the Ironclad's the better overall ship. But this is what I would say to people. If you're going to get the C2, just understand that the upgrade from the C2 is the Ironclad. If you treat it like that and you say, well, I have a C2, and at a later date, if I decide, I can just upgrade it into an Ironclad, I think you'll be fine. So yeah, and of course the Ironclad Assault, which can carry, the Ironclad Assault carries twice as much. No, it's still not twice as much. The Ironclad carries a little bit more than twice as much, and the Ironclad Assault carries almost twice as much. So yeah, it just depends on what do you want to do in the game. I would say C2 is ready to be upgraded to an Ironclad, and then the Ironclad, you could go anywhere from there or just keep it. The Ironclad is an in-game ship. I also think the C2 could be an in-game ship if you don't want those gigantic ships. Some people just don't like large ships. So like I said, the C2 is absolutely the better solo ship. So if you plan on doing more solo stuff, then keep your C2 and you'll be happy. The Corsair, absolute buy. Even right now, I think it's been nerfed even a little bit more, and it's still crazy. The amount of guns on this thing, what is it, 5 or 6 guns that are on this thing? It's absolutely ridiculous how much this. I am surprised that this ship still has as much firepower as it has, and as much hull HP as it has. This ship can fit a Nursa on it, and it just becomes one of the greatest experiences in Star Citizen right now. I don't know why anybody, if you don't have a Corsair right now, I hope it's because you have something better. But then I have questions about what you think is better right now. There's not a whole lot of ships that are better than the Corsair right now. So this is I think in my review I gave it a 10 out of 10. If I didn't, it's a 9. It's either a 9 or a 10 out of 10. It's one of those two. I don't like the internals. I don't like the way it looks internally, because I'm more of a fan of like the Crusader aesthetic and even the Consolidated Outland aesthetic. I like pretty much every aesthetic more than the Drake aesthetic, except I do like the way their ships look on the outside. So, internally is what I'm talking about when I say that aesthetic. But who cares? This thing can blow up pretty much everything that's one size below it and one size above it. So I mean, and if you get the guns pointed at anything else, it'll be gone quickly too. So I think it's a great ship. Obviously, against some skilled fighters, you're gonna struggle because you won't be able to get those guns on target. But you won't be going up against, to be completely honest with you, nobody goes up against that many skilled fighters unless you're doing a whole lot of PvP stuff. So yeah, it's a great ship. I think If you don't own one and you're in the business for buying ships and you are like on the fence about what to buy a Corsair if you're looking for a large ship, and you will not be dissatisfied. Cutlass Black. I would say basically the same thing I said about the Corsair, except at the smaller amount, right? So if you're not willing to spend $250, but you're willing to go into the advanced starters, I'd say the Cutlass Black is one of the best ships in the game. As far as advanced starters, you can do a little bit of cargo. The weapons on this thing are excellent. It has a little turret, so you can do multi-role game, or not multi-role, well, multi-role as well, but multi-crew gameplay. It's not a gigantic ship, so it still fits on decent landing pads. It's got decent speed. It's got little side compartments so you can jump out the side of this thing. Multiple entrances. What else does this thing have? VTOL thrusters. So it's, I mean, this thing has a lot, and I actually think that if you watch my videos, you know how much respect I have for the Cutlass Black. So much so that even though I don't own one, I could see this being the first ship that I purchase in game when the game is like finished. So yeah, so just know that if you're starting the game, you cannot go wrong with the Cutlass Black. You cannot go wrong with it. The Cutlass Steel, skip. Let's go back. The Cutlass Steel is better now, but the problem I have with the Cutlass Steel is it's overpriced. That's the biggest thing I have. Look at this, and then look at this. But more so, look at this. $250, and you get one of the best ships in the game, versus $235, and you get a ship that's slightly better than this one, and it's $110. This is a $110 ship. Somebody convince me that I should get a Cutlass Steel rather than getting two Cutlass Blacks. Somebody convince me that I should get one of these versus two of these. I don't think people are going to be able to convince me of that. This thing is, yes, it's a drop ship, but it loses a lot of what makes the Cutlass great to make it a drop ship. And it's tougher for sure, but I think I'm gonna do more damage with two Cutlass Blacks than I will in a Cutlass Steel. I get what it's geared for. I just think it's too expensive. If they would have made this ship 180, 190, I might be able to say, okay, it might be worth it. But even still, this ship is 110. And then when you look at the other variants, I think it's what, 135 and then 160 or something like that. This thing should be 190. And even still, I don't really think it should be that much. I get what CIG was going for, and maybe in the future this will be worth a little more, but I don't think it'll ever get to 235 worth. So for me, it's a no. Buy one in game, and maybe you'll get some decent use out of it when war times come, when we're able to do these large fleet battles. What is it called? Theaters of War, I think was the name of what it was called. But yeah, so this is the FAC Lightning. In order to get one of these, you see how it says event badge required up here. If you didn't get one of those gold tickets, you're not going to be able to purchase one of these. It was at a previous event. If I can get my hands on a gold ticket, then I will do a giveaway for that gold ticket. And then I'll just meet you in game and give you the gold ticket. We'll see if I can get one though. And yeah, and then you can buy one. So if you are interested in the F8C Lightning, then what I will do is I will better yet, just go to the Discord. Go to the Discord and I'll and just put in there that you're interested in the F8C Lightning. I'll create a little room for it or something. Or better yet, just go to the general and put it in there that you're interested in the FAC Lightning. And then I'll do like some weird like random spinner thing and pick somebody to give it to. But this is obviously, you still have to buy it. So I'm not giving away an F8C Lightning. I'm giving away the ticket so that you can purchase the F8C Lightning. So you still have to spend the $300 even once I give you the ticket. So, and that's, yeah, so that's, but I'll do that if I can get my hands on one. So just go to the Discord, go to the general. There should be a thing that says general, and then drop your Gib F8C Lightning thing in there. The Nova tank. So I go back and forth about whether I should purchase one of these outside of the game. It's very expensive, and I think most vehicles should be purchased in game. But I'm leaning back from that a little bit now, because they are going to be cheaper in game, but I'm thinking that the rep walls to get things like a Nova tank are going to be very high. So I don't think that, like, I think everything will be purchasable in game, but I'm starting to think that these ships, not everything that you can get will be easy to get. So like a Nova tank, yes, it might be cheap, but what if you have to put in 50 hours of gameplay before you can get the rep required to get the cheap ship? So like 50 hours of gameplay. Now, if you know me, then you know that the way that I look at ships is, and the reason I'm okay with spending money on ships is because the amount of time I treat it like a job, right? If you treat it like a job, and you could just say whatever number you think is a fair wage, right? So let's say $20 an hour, 20 American dollars, at least here. I don't think anybody who makes $20 an hour in America is like, unless you live in like a really expensive place to live. But most people who make $20 an hour would say that's a decent amount to get paid, right? So if I have to put in if I have to put in an hour of gameplay, that's worth $20. So 5 hours of gameplay would be 120, right? But let's say for the sake of gaming, right, you're having fun. So let's say it's half that price, because most of the time you're paying yourself to have fun. So I would say 10 hours. So if I can save 10 hours of gameplay, I would rather purchase the Nova and use that gameplay towards spending that money on something else or rep grinding for something else, and then purchase the Nova, right? So that's the thing to me. So if it ends up being that it takes 15 hours to get past the rep wall, in order to purchase the Nova, plus you have to actually still spend your in-game currency to purchase the Nova, I would rather not spend the 10 hours grinding to get the Nova. I would rather just buy the Nova outright and then spend that 10 hours grinding to get something else that I don't have. Like, I don't have an Idris, for instance. So I would love for all of my in-game, like when I start day one, I would like to start grinding to get an Idris, right? And, you know, while learning the game and all that stuff, and building up a crew that I can put into the Idris, right? So, you know, there is a philosophy of don't spend money on you know, cheaper ships and on vehicles, and that philosophy is solid. Nobody is saying that philosophy is not solid. What I'm telling you is what my philosophy is on certain vehicles. I think the Ursa medevac is so important to the game at this point, at 3.23, 3.24, that it's worth purchasing. I think the Nova, even more long-term than the medevac, is going to be worth purchasing if it's going to be behind a rep wall. Because if you think about it, I could see that the logic of the game is we don't just want everybody to have ground tanks because they're so difficult to destroy, and we don't want everybody just rolling around in a tank. So this is a long way towards saying that it's one of the few vehicles. I think there's only 3 vehicles that I've suggested that people actually purchase. The Cyclone, because having LTI on a Cyclone is just, the Cyclone, you're gonna leave so many Cyclones just left and gone and unclaimed that having LTI on one of those I think would just be great. Having an Ursa medevac, because an Ursa medevac I think is just so valuable to the game right now. It's one of the most valuable vehicles in the game, and then a Nova tank because of the potential rep wall that will be put in front of the Nova tank. So if and only if you are the type of person that spends a lot of money on the game, I would say get the Nova tank. Otherwise, you might just want to grind for it, and I respect that. So I wouldn't tell anybody go out and buy a Nova. I would just say I don't think people who buy Novas with real cash are crazy. And I'll leave it at that. The Redeemer. So I just got one of these. My thoughts are that I don't need one because I have the A2. Everything I would do in this, I would be able to do in the A2. So I don't particularly need one. I think for me, I love how cool it is though. So that's one thing that I always have to say is the cool factor always matters. It always matters. If you just want this shit because it's cool, I think go for it. Go for it. It's $330 worth of cool. But there's people who bought a $440 Prowler, and I was considering getting a $440 Prowler, and that thing is basically just cool for $400. It's like if you could spend money on a ship and say, oh, why did you buy that ship? Well, it was $440 to be cool. That's basically, you could say that, and it wouldn't be wrong. So I mean, the Redeemer has more to it than that. Like, I wouldn't say that's the only thing that's great about it. But here's the thing, right? I always compare, the reason I say I don't need a Redeemer is because I have an A2, right? So, okay, what do I have on the Redeemer? So I have the size 4s, right? It comes with the ballistic cannons, which is great, right? But those are gonna do what, like $500-600 or $500-600, 500-600 DPS, right? Versus my A2, which comes with M7A laser cannons, which do 2,500 DPS, right? And then I'm like, okay, so maybe I came for the turrets, right? Because it has the size 5s, and those have ADB5s, right? There's like, they come with ballistic Gatlings. So there's two of them come with ballistic Gatlings, and 2 of them come with laser cannons. So I'm like, okay, yeah, but I have more turrets. I have more turrets on my A2. Laser cannons, laser repeaters, they're all mixed. The only thing I don't have is like the it doesn't come with the ballistics, but they're all remote too. So if my turret gets blown up, I'm not losing a man because they're all remote. So my crew can just be in the back. We can all be up deck and not worrying about it, right? And so that's something that I considered. So you know, again, the A2 is $750. So this is not like these two ships should be compared thing, because obviously the Redeemer is cheaper. And for what you get, the Redeemer is a solid buy, right? It's a solid buy, right? And then, you know, the Redeemer has missiles, whereas the A2 does not have missiles. It has bombs, and you have to drop them. You can't use them in space, right? So there's more to it, right? I just think, like, I like the redundancy of the parts of the A2. Like, it's got 2 shields, 2 power plants, 2 coolers. Whereas the Redeemer, it does have 2 shields, but it doesn't have 2 of everything else. And you know, I think a lot of time when we look at stuff like this, we don't think about, like, well, how are we going to use these things, right? Both of these have a very similar use, except the Redeemer can fight in space, is more geared towards fighting in space than the A2. The A2 is kind of splitting the difference between fighting in space and fighting ground combat and being able to destroy very large ships. So yeah, it really comes down to how you're going to use them, but I have both. So I mean, I don't know if I'll keep the Redeemer, but it was a very close call between this one and the Prowler. This one has way more use than the Prowler, which I already knew, but I just didn't think that I needed it. So we'll see. But it is looking like I'll end up keeping the Redeemer because, you know, I even though I don't particularly need it, it would be cool to have something that's a little more compact. The A2, you got to go in, and then you got to go up the stairs, and then you got to, or not the stairs, you go up the elevator, and then you got to run all the way to the front. So it's a little bit longer. So if I just want to do combat, I think I'd rather take the Redeemer out, as long as it can handle everything. I think I might just rather take the Redeemer out for just combat. If I know I'm not picking up anything else, if I know all I'm doing is combat for the next few hours, I might rather take the Redeemer out. So I have to figure out a place to put it in my fleet, because every ship that I own there's a space for it in my fleet where no other ship can fill that space. So this one is filling a role that is already filled by another ship, and that's the only thing. Do I have a gunship? No, I guess I don't. I guess it could fill the gunship role, but technically my Phoenix is a gunship. And people might say, no, it's not. And I'll be like, yes, it is. It has a crap ton of guns and a crap ton of missiles. Even though it's a luxury ship, it fits the role of a gunship still. The amount of guns on that thing, it still fits the role of a gunship. And you know, it's not as dedicated like this one. So I get why people would be like, well, yes, technically it can fit the role of a gunship, but it's not a gunship. But I mean, it's got 2 turrets. They're only size 2s, but it's got 2 turrets on it. It's got 2 turrets, and it's got 4 size 5s. And it's got what, like 28 missiles? So I would say, I mean, I know they're all size 1s on the Phoenix, but still 28 size 1 missiles is, you know, that's enough. That's enough. The size 1 missiles to keep the fighters off, the size 2 missiles, or the size 2 turrets to keep the fighters off, the size 5s to shoot anything and kill it while it's in front of you. And it's the only ship that does all of that and can compare with the Corsair, except it has what, twice the hull HP of a Corsair. So it fits the role of a gunship. So maybe I'll take it out of that. I'll take the Corsair, not the Corsair. I'll take the Redeemer and say, this is my gunship, and my Constellation is not. Anyway, I spent too much time on the Redeemer. Great ship. I think you should buy it if you are specifically looking for a gunship. The 2 SCU, I think it's 2 SCU of cargo, makes it viable for like going around and just wrecking stuff. So I think it's a solid ship. The Saber, it's better as of 3.23, but it's not great. I wouldn't buy one right now. Honestly, I think there's better fighters. I mean, if you're looking for a stealth fighter, like particularly like the only thing I want this for is stealth, then yes. But I'm not sure if they added the 40, I don't know if they added the 40, the negative 40, I think it's called, the negative 40 stealth to this thing. They did. So the base Saber has minus 40% to the EM signature. So this is legitimately a stealth ship. So it has 4 size 3s. It has I think it has 4 missiles. It has redundancy on every part. It's got it's got the shields. It's 2 shields, 2 power plants, 2 coolers. So yeah, I think it might be actually pretty solid. I think the hull HP probably leaves something to the imagination a little bit, but I think it's a solid ship. I don't think anybody who gets one of these is gonna be super upset. I think the biggest thing for this ship is, I wouldn't try to sneak up on people and then shoot them with size 3s. Size 3 missiles, yes. I would sneak up on people and shoot them with size 3 missiles. But then if I was gonna do that, why don't I have a Saber Firebird? The Saber Firebird has 2 size 3 Gatlings. It comes with those standard, whereas this has 4 size 3 Gatlings. Or not 4 size 3 Gatlings. It has 4 size 3s, but they're all laser repeaters. So I would get the Saber Firebird, but the Saber Firebird is more expensive. So I think when I think of stealth, I think of showing up, doing a massive amount of damage very quickly to kind of to like cripple the opponent, so that when I come back, I don't need as much firepower because the stealth part worked. When you I don't know if anybody plays, like, has played World of Warcraft, or maybe I'm thinking of something else, but anyway, let's use D&D. I think some people maybe play D&D, or you're familiar with the rogue class in general. Their entire thing is sneaking up on people, doing sneak attack damage, right, to cripple the opponent, so that now, even though I'm a weaker figure in general, it doesn't matter, because I've already done so much damage to you that you're scrambling or you're bleeding or whatever. So now it's an even fight, or I have the upper hand. And that's the entire idea, I think, of stealth gameplay. So I don't know if I need a stealth fighter so much as I need something that can show up, do a lot of damage to you, and dip out very quickly. And I think the Saber Firebird is the better stealth ship because of that. And yeah, so that's my kind of opinion on that. Flies, gotta get them out of here. All right, what we got? Let's go Spartan. So I've been talked into the Spartan. I wasn't a fan of it. I think the Spartan could use some better weaponry. I think it should. I just think it should be a better shooter. Because when I think about, okay, how am I going to transport troops? And if obviously you're not going to be able to fly troops everywhere, right? So we all think of drop ships, and we all think, okay, well, I'll just get a drop ship, and you know, that's how I'll transport everybody, right? But I think for me, I think you have to acknowledge at some point you're like the picture shows. Look at this. These are going to keep the ships out of the sky. You're not always going to be able to just drop in. And I think if you think you're going to be able to drop in every single time, you're going to be mistaken, right? But I think the Spartan has a role. I don't think I would purchase it with real money, not yet. Because even though you can fit a bunch of people on it and keep them, you know, keep the anti-air busy some other way, I feel like with all that space and all those people on it, it should have 2 turrets. That would really set this apart, because once it gets there, and you know, it's decently tough. Like, it's tougher than some ships. In fact, it's tougher than the Saber Firebirds that I was talking about. It's got like 1,000 more HP than those Saber Firebirds, right? So it's tough. It'll get you there. You'll be able to survive. But I just think it should have 2 turrets on it, like 2 anti-personnel turrets. So if this and another one meet, you could have a legitimate fight in this thing. Because there's no, I always dislike when you have a ship that's guaranteed to have people on it. It's supposed to have people on it, but then they don't have like extra things for those people to do, because this is a video game, right? Like, it's great when we think of like the use case of this in a real military scenario. Whatever, like regular soldiers, we can just sit in the back, play on our phones or something, right? And the same can happen here, I guess, right, in a video game. But like, I came here to play the video game, right? So I feel like you should give those people something to do. You know, even if it's some short, small vehicle engineering role or something, I don't know. Maybe you could work on overclocking the guns or something, I don't know. But right now, I just feel like 2 guns would make this thing great. I think it would make it absolutely amazing. Just to give it, even if they're just a remote gun, I think that would be really cool. So that's my 2 cents on it. I wouldn't buy one right now. But if you're spending $80 and maybe $80 is not a lot of dollars to you, then hey, go for it. But I would not, like I said, I have the 3 vehicles that I think that are worth actually buying, and this is not one of those. The Storm, I don't know why I would get this rather than the tank. If I'm gonna spend money on a tank, I'd rather have the Nova. The Nova can do more damage. However, this is solo and the Nova is not. So I think that might be the main reason, but I don't know. It's a weird vehicle for me. I don't know. Some people say that they want more speed, so the Nova doesn't quite do that for them. And I'm like, well, do you really want to have a ground battle? If your only reason you want it is because of the speed, then my question is, do you want to have a ground battle? Because ground battles are not necessarily going to be speedy battles. So I don't know. The Nova, I think it has like that big size 5 on the front of it. And then it's got like other guns too, right? Like I don't know, do those count? Those, it got missiles too, right? Like the Nova has missiles. Yeah, Nova has like 4. No, the Nova has a ton of missiles actually. Nova has like 24 missiles. Yes. So, and it's $30 more than this, right? And this thing only has the gun. It does not have missiles, and the gun is a size 3. So, and that's what I wonder. I'm like, well, why would I get this? It's tough. It's a tough little beast, and it's faster than the Nova. So I guess if you need fast, major firepower, maybe you get that. I just don't. I would rather spend the $30 and get the Nova. You know, you get the size 5, you get the 24 missiles, the size 2s, you get the remote gun. I mean, that thing is crazy. And I think it has 3 shields on it. It has 3 shields. I think it has actually three of something else too. It's either coolers or power plants. So yeah, it has a crazy amount of redundancy in that thing. And it's small package. Yeah. I mean, the only reason I don't have a Nova tank is because I would need, I don't know. I would want to upgrade something I have to it. So, and it would have to be something that I got for free or something that I got for really cheap. So, you know, I couldn't spend the entire 120 on it. I would feel okay picking it up for like 75 or 80. But yeah, I just think if I'm going to spend the money, I'm not getting the Storm, I'm getting the Nova. So there you have it. And the same thing for this. I don't know why I would get this over a Ballista is not, this is a little different because Ballista is way more expensive, right? But there's other AA vehicles that you can get, like the Tumbrel AA, that I think are, you know, I don't remember the cost of the Tumbrel AA, but this is, if I'm gonna pick between the two, this one I wouldn't get. I would get the Nova. But if I'm gonna get a Storm, I'm probably getting this one, just because it has a crap ton of missiles in it, and it has, I think, a lower signature than the Ballista, and it's almost half the price as the Ballista. So I think I would take this one, but it's also the restocking, right? So these are missiles, right? So you're gonna have to restock it, and if I have to move to restock, then I want the Storm AA. If I don't have to move to restock, as this is stationary near a base, the missiles are just going to be right there, then I would rather have the Ballista. But I'm not buying either one of these with real money. I'm shocked that the Nova's 120. I would guess that the Nova would be, you know, 180, but the Nova's 120. So I mean, I would just take the Nova. The Ursa Medevac, this is our last one. I've sung its praises so much at this point that I don't even know if it's worth it. The Ursa Medevac is a must buy for me. I wanted LTI on it because I'm going to use it in every single ship that can carry it. Even ships that already have medical bays, I'm going to take an Ursa Medevac with me. I'm not taking regular, I'm not using regular Ursas. The only other Ursa that I'm using is, and it's because I have the skin for it, is the Ursa, the green one. I can't think of the name of it right now, but the green Ursa. That's it. And now I'm only using that skin. If I could put the skin on this one, I wouldn't even use that one. I would just put that skin on this and then have everybody thinking I'm driving around a regular Ursa, but it would be it would be that one. Yeah, it's got you can respawn from it. It's the only vehicle you can respawn from. How much more do I have to say? It's the only vehicle you respawn from. You can heal yourself in it. You could set this as your respawn point. I just don't. It's a no-brainer. It's 60 bucks. It's expensive. In general, if you're buying it in addition to something. But to be completely honest with you, if I'm a person starting in the game, I don't normally do this, but if I was a person starting in the game today, what would I get? Let me tell you what I would get. I would get an Avenger Titan. I would get a Corsair, and I would get an Ursa Medevac to put in the back of my Corsair. That would be it. Those are the 3 ships that if you have that, I don't really think you need anything else. You're going to be able to do enough with those 3 ships to where I'm not worried about anything that you're going to do in the game. So that's how much faith I have in the Ursa Medevac. Those are the 3 things I would buy. I think that's what, 310, and then I think the Avenger Titan's like 60, so I think that's 370 bucks. 370 bucks, and you don't have to really buy anything else. Everything else you'll be able to earn very quickly using those 3 ships. Well, those 2 ships in that one vehicle. So, yeah. And that's it. That's all I got for this one. This was longer than I thought it would be. It's almost an hour. But, you know, I like talking about ships, and, you know, I think some people like hearing about ships. I hope you do if you're watching this video. But that's it for this one. I will see you in the next one. Oh, no, I won't. This video was supposed to include the war bond stuff in it. But I'm just going to put that in a separate video because I might want to talk about that a little longer. And this video is already super long. So I'll actually include that in another video that's coming up. I did intend to keep it in it. So I'm sorry if I said that at the beginning, like, hey, it's going to be in here. And then I have to. I talk a lot, but that's what we do. We're YouTube creators. It's what we do. But I'll give you a bonus video because I didn't put that in this one. So I'll film that one and get that one to you. All right. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.